Hello and welcome to the Metal Cell podcast. My name's Richie and I'm delighted to say I have Jim Tobin here with me today on this Tuesday.
Isn't this a treat?
It is a treat, man. All the ways from Malta. He took a bit of time on his busy schedule to call in.
That's it.
How are you finding Ireland at the moment? Is it good to be back?
Beautiful. I miss the weather.
Yeah.
I miss the rain.
Yeah, give us an idea of what temperatures you have over Malta at the moment.
It's, I'd say, 36 to 40 degrees and 100% humidity.
Jesus
So
Christ.
it's like putting your nose over a boiling kettle.
The whole time.
So I'll never complain about the weather here ever again.
Yeah. And you've kind of got in a bit of tourist stuff as well, you have, yeah?
I did. I went to see Rotting Christ in Cork last week.
That's what I mean, class, monolith. What did you think about the setup first in Cypress Avenue?
Holy shit, man. The last time I saw that place, it had, well, it still kind of has that angle.
Yeah.
But I mean, they've cut the whole thing out completely. It's, I think there were a lot of heads from Dublin who were down for it as well, who were just super impressed. It's unbelievable what they've done with the place.
Yeah.
It's I don't think I've ever actually been to the pavilion, but I mean I've been in there once or twice when it was open.
Yeah.
But this is a step up from that again.
It is, isn't it?
Amazing altogether, and it seems to be more accessible.
Yeah.
You know, like it's probably a bit easier for promoters to put on gigs there. Like the PAV had a rental fee and all this and a deposit and that shit. So hopefully we'll see a lot more gigs coming into Cork now.
Yeah, I think that's probably the whole idea of it. Metal gigs as well. Like, I mean, back in the day, you would have loved to have something like that to offer a bigger band, you know, to come in.
Oh, definitely, yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, we were kind of tied up. I think back in when I was doing it, I think we had the Cruiscin and
Yeah.
maybe the Savoy was open, but that was out of reach. I don't know what's the capacity of the Savoy, 5,000 or something.
Yeah, would have been. Yeah.
So, but again, out of reach because the venue fees they put on these places.
Yeah. Can you remember back in the day what roughly how much was the Savoy? Like, I know people got Macedon in, and that was a success, you know.
I have no idea. I never actually went to a show there.
Didn't you know? I went to see Macedon twice there, Suicidal Tendencies
All right.
and the Wu-Tang Clan.
One of these is not like the other.
That's just me, but yeah, since you brought it up now, we'll just go way back in time with the Cruiscin Lan.
There's a Half Moon as well, which is a lovely venue.
The Half Moon, yeah, the back of the Opera House.
Yeah.
Did you have anything in there? No,
we did a couple of the blast gigs there. I mean, you'd fill the place with those gigs. There, you'd have 500 kids, coming out to those. That was fantastic. I mean, it was a great way to get to play somewhere like that.
Yeah, what bands are playing there? Like, what bands?
Back in the day, geez, you'd have had.
Were they kind of Irish bands, English bands, or?
They were all local.
Okay.
Kind of mostly school bands. You know,
Right.
that had just kind of started young bands. I think there was there a band called Silent Jack with John Pearce. John Pearson is his name.
Right.
There's a couple of Battle of the Bands as well. And,
Yeah. Okay.
To be fair, some of those bands managed to go on and get decent support bands in Dublin, and they got some TV exposure and stuff like that.
So when was that, Jim? Roughly.
That I'd say the blast gigs ran from about maybe 2002 to 2005, 2006.
Okay.
But yeah, great exposure like for these bands to get up on a stage like that, like a nice stage, and play to a full house.
Yeah.
We managed to do it a couple of times, and yeah.
With Sirocco, is it?
With Sirocco, yeah. I mean, when you're young and you get up on a stage like that, it's really encouraging to keep going.
Yeah.
And all the bands got paid, which was always a great thing as well.
Yeah. None of this pay for play stuff. I saw that there lately.
Oh, really? I've seen this going on a lot with I mean, fair enough. If it's a foreign festival or something, and you need to build up the cost. But I've seen a lot of bands having to buying onto smaller festivals, or just like all dayers and stuff, and that kind of shit doesn't.
That's
really
crazy,
fly.
man. It doesn't. No.
I'm completely anti pay to play.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah, spot on, man. I agree. The Cruiscin Lan, then that was the first one. Was that 2005? Was it, or 2006?
Which one?
The Winterfest, wasn't it?
Winterfest 2006.
2006, yeah. So you were behind that, weren't you? Had you help?
I had I started with Acheron. So Acheron, I think started with some of the lads from Carnan Rising.
Right.
Maybe around 2002. I think they might have done something in Nancy Spain's as Acheron.
Right.
They have Behemoth and there was another one. yeah, that was around 2002, 2003.
Yeah.
They took a break and they came back in the Cruiscin. I think they had Cannibal Corpse.
Yes, correct. Yeah.
Decapitated. There was another one to start that off, but yeah, that was the start of it. So
Yeah.
I just moved to Cork at that stage.
Were you out of college or where were you?
No,
What were
no,
you
I
coming
was basically my uncle just turned up at my house and told me, "I got you a job at Apple. You know, get in the car."
Very good. Away you go.
So that was it. No accommodation or anything, Ray. Just like get up and get in the car and go to work.
Right. Yeah. Class.
So that was my swift arrival in Cork.
Right.
So
And you liked the scene then?
well, I'd been up there a couple of times before because I was playing with Sirocco. Or how do you pronounce it?
I call everybody Sirocco.
Sirocco. Cool. We'll go with that.
Sirocco.
So I've been playing with Sirocco there since 2003-ish.
Yeah.
Maybe 2004.
And they were all local lads, were they?
They're all from Lismore.
Yeah. You were instrumental originally, weren't you?
We were. We recorded the first album instrumental. We just couldn't find someone to do it. In fact,
Nemid.
yeah, that's the one. In fact, Kieran had tried out on vocals maybe a year prior before we actually started Sirocco.
Right.
We turned them down. So we were getting to a stage then, later on we had Paul Flynn on vocals for a while,
Right.
but that was more of a hardcore style.
Okay.
And it didn't suit what we wanted to do.
Yeah.
So in the end, Kieran said, "Fuck it, let me try it again."
Yeah. He went away and learned.
So yeah, well, he was getting a bit better. I think he was singing in other things at the time,
Okay.
and he'd grown. His voice had deepened a little bit, and
yeah, he joined in 2007, so it was like nearly 4 years, is it?
2000, yeah, must have been.
Yeah.
So we started 2003. Yeah, around 4 years.
Yeah.
So just in time for the second album.
Right. Okay.
So, but I mean, there was a huge difference in his voice from the second album to the third album. By the third album, he had matured,
Right.
and he had a great idea of what he was doing. And so, if you were to ask me, I'd say the third album is probably my favorite. It's the most mature.
Right. Okay. And so you were kind of gigging then. Like, just how did it build up? I suppose when Kieran joined, you went folk. You went from instrumental to kind of normal band 4-piece, and
Yeah.
you released the second album. Then was it?
Well, we had the second album already written.
Right. Okay.
And we had the lyrics and everything written, and the whole concept. And
Okay.
we just needed somebody to sing it. Because
Yeah.
as I said, we had the kind of hardcore style vocals. We weren't confident enough with them going forward to go in and
Right.
record them.
Yeah.
So I'd say it was in the space of a month that we
Yeah.
switched out the vocalist, and Kieran just went in and had some
And
fun
how
with
did you market that album then?
it. I think we had a deal with District what's it called? District 14 or District 13 something. District 9, I don't know.
Right.
And Code 7. So I mean the album was available in all the warehouse catalogs. So
Okay.
if somebody asked for it, they could order it in at HMV and stuff like that.
Right.
But I mean, mostly just selling it at gigs and stuff.
Yeah. Word them out.
Yeah,
So
pretty
that was
much.
back in the day, long before the social media
Yeah,
side
exactly.
of things.
I still have hundreds of copies of all of them. So
Have you?
if anybody wants one,
check them out on Facebook there on Jim Tobin.
yeah.
So just to get a kind of idea of where it was at the time in relation to other Irish bands.
Well-
What kind of scene was it? Was it like kind of Primordial were there as well, weren't they?
Yeah, but I mean, when we
Um,
started, we had very little access to music, because there's no Spotify or no YouTube
Yeah.
or anything. I mean, I don't even think we had heard Iron Maiden or anything at that stage.
Right.
We're like maybe what's on Scuzz or Kerrang. I don't
Yeah.
even think Scuzz was there or Kerrang.
Nah,
MTV2.
probably not. MTV2,
So,
yeah.
Just picking things up. I mean, when we started playing this style with the dual guitar harmonies and stuff, we hadn't heard Thin Lizzy.
Really? Jeez.
So, I was just making things up as we went along and tried to be as cheesy as possible. If it made us laugh, it made the cut.
Classic. And so kind of you were based in County Waterford still at this stage.
Yeah, and Lismore.
And trying to get gigs in Cork.
Yeah, it was quite. I mean,
Was
we
it?
found it very difficult. We felt like we were ready to go and just couldn't get anyone to bite,
Yeah.
or else we just didn't have the contacts for it yet.
And what age were you then, roughly?
I was maybe 17, 16.
Okay, geez, you were still
John,
very young.
John Owens, I think the lead guitarist, was 13, 14.
Oh,
He
okay.
was 13 when he recorded the first demo with us.
Right.
So
So you were relying on parents and stuff to get you around the place as well.
Yeah, pretty much. Well, Rob, the drummer, was a bit older, so he was out. Had his license, so
Yeah.
that helped a lot. He did a lot of driving.
Did you play Yall maybe or any one of those places?
Never played.
Dungarvan?
We played Dungarvan, our second ever gig at the Abbey Bar.
Oh yeah, no, the Abbey Bar, yeah.
Yeah, I don't even know if it's still there, but
I think it might be.
it was actually a great place. The back room there could have held 200 people. We had 6. So
Class. So
and from there I think we got actually, funny enough, the one of the Monolith organisers, Con Doyle, gave us our first spot in Cork. There might have been another one. We played, can't remember the name of the venue's name. The singer of Violent Jack. Right.
I heard that name before.
Yeah, I can't think of his name. Sorry, but
Yeah.
but yeah, we played our first show there. But our first kind of proper gig was we played the Cruiscin, and it was actually Con from Monolith.
Yeah.
Got us that show.
Right.
A couple of shows after that for Freak FM. Kind of they had a couple of nights going every so often.
Yeah.
Then into Fred's. Eventually we made it up to Galway. Played a lot of small places in between as well.
Right.
I think we did Kilkenny, might have done somewhere in Tipperary. Eventually Dublin, Belfast, and in the end we've done pretty much the whole country a couple of times.
Yeah. It was obviously it's a slow rise that way, and compared to what it is now,
In fact, I think we might have played the UK before we played Dublin.
Really, yeah.
Yeah. It's difficult to get into Dublin because there's so much stuff going on there.
Yeah, and of course it was just again all networking, sending out tapes, demos.
That's it. Well, part of the game is, you go to gigs, you chat with people, and hope you might you find somebody who'll get you into their town or something like that, or it's just a network.
Yeah. So eventually, anyway, you moved to Cork, settled in, got the Cruiscin Lan, then up and running for a few different types of gigs. Anyway, initially, was it? Because it had a kind of reputation of being as a kind of a punk place as well, and ska as well.
That would have been before my time.
Yeah.
But I remember the first gig I saw there was Ackercock and
oh yeah,
Sixth.
That's mad. Did you meet Nathaniel?
From
Damon.
I don't think so.
Yeah, no, he was in Cork from Monolith. Their band played Damon.
Ah, right, okay.
Shout out to Nathaniel there.
Yeah. So that was the first gig I saw on the Cruiscin. That's back when the wall was open, and you had the second part of the Cruiscin and the
correct. Yeah.
That was brilliant.
Yeah.
And the sound there that night, I think, because at the time I'm not even sure if the Cruiscin had its own PA system.
I think it might have. It was as you came in on the left hand side. That's where the PA. Well, where the sound desk was. I don't know where the PA.
But by the front of house, by the stage. I remember that for that particular gig, the sound was massive. As in, you stand within a couple of feet of the speakers and you're vibrating.
Yeah.
But that was a cool one. And that might have been my first time in Fred's as well. Same night.
Jesus.
So,
and did you get to meet the lads in Rotten Christ that night?
This is the Burning Oak weekend, or?
The Burning Oak weekend. Yeah.
Ah, yeah.
Like, did you go up and collect them yourself, or how did that pan out?
No, I think we had a driver. They flew into Dublin that time.
Okay.
But I think I had already met them a couple of times. I might have seen them in Greece or something like that.
Right.
So, yeah. So, but that's a story for later on.
Okay. Yeah. Then you got in Destruction, correct? Hail of Bullets, was that all you, or was it again under that promotions company?
It kind of it morphed through a couple of different variations. There was when I moved up to Cork first, there was the Akron with the guys from Carlin Rising, basically were looking after it. And after a while they got in Dr. Rock, and I think was he the only one? And eventually I came in as well after Dr. Rock. So I went through a few different changes. The Cruiscin came under, or was changed around as well. Kieran bought that out, or took over the license, which gave us much better access to gigs. I remember Sirocco played a gig at Nancy Spain's one time. I think it could have been November 2006 or 2005. And I ended up talking to Kieran for a good 2.5 hours. He's very chatty.
Yeah, sure.
I'm sure he might be listening too. So,
yeah.
But yeah, he was telling me about his intentions to take over the Cruiscin. I thought, sure, he's only talking out his arse.
Yeah.
So I met him again about 2 months later, and he said, "Oh, I signed the papers. It's mine. I got the keys."
Brilliant.
So I think his opening bash was he wrote down 1349.
Oh yeah.
I think he got them a taxi down from Dublin.
Jesus Christ.
So yeah, so that was the start of that. It made things a lot easier then. There was no venue rental fees.
Right.
The cruise scheme became, having somebody who's a metalhead or a rocker himself. He was more about the music rather than the profit.
Yeah. Okay.
So definitely made the cruise scheme more accessible.
And iconic as well because of it, for us anyway, you know.
Oh yeah, a lot of weird things have gone on there.
Yeah. So like, I mean, like standout gigs there were Exodus, Onslaught, I mean, Amon Amort, you know.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many going back through it.
It's fantastic. That was the first time I actually had a conversation with you. I think it was for Amon Amort.
The Fintroll gig, was it?
Yeah,
Amon Amort and Fintroll.
Yeah, that's right.
On a Monday night.
Yeah, you were sweating bullets there. You weren't sure if you were going to make the money back.
Oh, that would have been every gig.
Yeah.
And usually I didn't.
But I mean, just for their fee alone, can you remember what it was? I think you told me it was just like something. Just my jaw hit the ground.
Could have been about 6,000.
Yeah,
something like that. I mean, it wasn't
more.
It was. They might have played Dublin. They were playing Dublin the night after, I think. So this is a strange time where bands could come to Dublin and get a second show in Cork, or maybe a third show if Belfast was on the list as well. Before you were splitting costs between the two shows, Dublin and Belfast. So this made things a bit maybe slightly easier for everyone because you could split those ferry costs or whatever between the three shows.
Okay, so that's the way you'd look at it. Yeah.
So that was a pretty good one.
Some mental, really, when you think of it,
Yeah.
My own personal fave then was Triptychon as well. That was a class one as well to see. And what, like, kind of
immeasurable indignities were suffered there on both parts.
I know. Yeah, just a lot of hassle, like, but
so well, some things don't always go as planned, and this one didn't. Not everybody was happy leaving.
Yeah.
In comparison, I think Primordial and Rod and Christ had a pretty cool time.
Yeah.
So you'd have to ask them.
Exactly. Yeah. Just going back as well, like, how much would Exodus cost now to get them in? Can you remember that?
I don't think I was dealing with the cash kind of situation on that. They came in again when it was kind of Karen and Rising guys looking after it.
Yeah.
That was a fantastic gig. Amazing.
Yeah.
And that might have been one of the first really big ones in the
it was game. Yeah.
So
just amazing.
Because that was November 2005, and the next big one I remember after that was Cannibal Corpse, which was 2006.
Yeah.
So they were coming in succession there. One awesome gig after another.
Yeah, it was, wasn't it?
So I think then there was the first gig I actually did with them must have been January 2006. There was Gassa and the Firstborn from Portugal,
right,
playing in the Cubiculo. So that was a venue. It's the only time I've done anything in that venue, I think. And that was the one where, at that time, it was myself, Cahill from Carnan Rising, and Dr. Rock doing the gig, and they weren't too sure about numbers beforehand. They were thinking about pulling the plug on it,
right.
And I kind of stepped in and said, let it run. We'll see what happens. So I think Cahill had a family emergency or something, and he had to head back to Galway. So it was me and Dr. Rock looking after the gig, and I think then Dr. Rock disappeared, and I was left with an empty cash box to pay 2 or 3 bands.
Jesus Christ.
So if I remember correctly, I told him, you know what, get a box of Heineken from the bar and charge it to Cahill.
Yes.
Sorry, Cahill.
Yeah. It's just kind of better than nothing. Yeah. Jeez, they were mad times, all right.
So, but I mean, it takes some brass balls to deal with this shit on a weekly, monthly basis.
Yeah.
It's not an easy job, and it's not there's no certificates or no training behind it. You just have to kind of get in there and try and be as tough as possible.
What about, like, kind of out of a lot of those bands that we were talking about there was a few Irish bands as well knocking on the door at the time. Dead Label, can you remember Dead Label playing Cork that time?
Yeah, Dead Label had done there was a Battle of the Bands in Dublin a few weeks before Winterfest. I can't remember the the name of it. There was some promotion running it in association with Monster. Monster were sponsoring it. Dead Label won it, and I think part of the deal we had was that the winner of this Battle of the Bands would get a spot on the Winterfest lineup.
Yeah.
And I don't remember a whole lot about them playing. Just I remember meeting Claire for the first time.
Yeah.
And I mean, I guess they blew the place away, but I was probably dealing with other things at the time, so didn't see much of them as they were playing. They came down a few other times to the Cruiscin and always blew the place away. Even starting out, they were always a fantastic band.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
and
I love the way that they always did things their own way. You know, there's no, they didn't get into the scene politics or anything. They just, straight ahead. They have their own vision of what they wanted to do.
Yeah, yeah.
So I'd say probably they've played so many shows all over Europe and probably even the States now as well.
Yeah, it's amazing the way it's going. I'm kind of glad they went 4-piece as well. Just a bigger sound,
Is that recently?
Yeah, they went 4-piece there last year, really.
Okay. We had them in Malta.
That's correct, yeah.
2-3 years ago.
I saw that, yeah.
And again, I wasn't actually involved. It just somehow it happened that they managed to get they got a festival spot over there, and it was great to catch up with them. But and great to see them live. They put on a great show.
They do, yeah. They put on a great show. I mean, you're aware now of kind of what's in Cork now in relation to the promoters and stuff. You've been following the scene probably from afar, haven't you?
Well, because I'm somewhat involved with the Irish Metal Archive as well, so I catch up.
Might as well just talk about that. That's why I was leading into it there. How did that? Yourself and John O'Brien, really, isn't it? Is there someone else?
Yeah, well, I mean, John is the main guy. I kind of handle the tech side of it.
Right.
But I think I met him. I suppose he was probably coming up to gigs in the Cruiscin for a long time before I even spoke to him.
Okay.
And he was on the Metal Ireland forums, Job Rock. So it was only after a fair while I realised he was from Fermoy, which is not too far away from me either.
Right.
And in the meantime, he started putting up. He had a blog where he was posting like links. WeTransfer, or whatever it was at the time, just links to old demos. It just started as a project of his, and it was great. I mean, I found, like the Metal Cell, it was a great archive of Irish rock and metal. Just stuff that would be lost to time if somebody didn't kind of curate it.
Yeah.
So I just ended up chatting to him and said, like, the blog, that's probably not going to last forever. If it's a free hosted blog, they could pull it at any time, and you'd lose all your work. So we just put together a kind of a system so we can get all this information into one place and just have it, safe.
Yeah.
After that, there's actually a second version of the archive due to launch later this year.
Oh, cool. So that's a nice one to hear.
There's a lot of new stuff in it, and a lot of to make it more interactive for bands and people who can contribute information if they can. Yeah. Maybe they should or would.
Yeah, it's fantastic to have the Irish Metal Archive there. It's like an encyclopedia of of every kind of band.
I mean, there is the Metal Archive, which in itself is a huge resource for like bands all over the world.
Yeah.
I think the Irish Metal Archive just goes a little bit deeper into it. There are a lot of bands that might only be known by name, or like, say, if John had attended a gig and he might remember this band, or he might have got a demo.
Yeah.
These things would never have resurfaced.
Yeah, and you've got guys as well that, like, which I love as well, that have been going to the gigs as long as us and longer. Shout out to Pat Clancy.
Oh,
there,
Hello,
and,
Pat.
Toby as well. Just like you could spend like 2 or 3 episodes with these lads. Just talking about.
Oh, definitely. Have you done one with Pat Clancy yet?
I have, yeah. Pat and Toby.
Right,
yeah.
That's on my list.
Yeah. So cool. Check that out. You're mentioned on it. As I said, it's just to make sure, like, we look after our history, and all the guys that played and were involved in the scene. I'll
tell you a quick one.
Go on, yeah.
I'd say a couple of years ago, I had applied to a couple of different government institutions, or the Arts Board, or the Forest na Gaeilge, all these different little places. So especially the Arts Council, I wanted to target them to try and get some funding for the archive, to keep it alive longer and try and invest something in it.
Mm-hmm.
To me, it seems like it's something that's worthwhile investing.
Yeah.
So I got a solid no from both of them. The other option was I wanted to have it translated to Irish.
Right.
which again seems like a no-brainer. You know, if you want
Yeah.
to try and promote language, why not, you know, combine it with music, promote language through music. So I saw the other day anyway, Duffy Circus is sponsored by the Arts Council, and I was thinking, for fuck's sake.
Are you kidding me? Really?
Yeah, true story.
Jesus Christ Almighty!
So
Incredible.
one day, but one of the aims is to translate the archive to Gaeilge once, you know, we have the resources, and you know, probably I should scratch up on my
Yeah, I was just
Gaeilge
going to
a bit.
say, yeah, there is a few lads out there that are very good that way, you know.
Yeah, true.
But yeah, the Arts Council, yeah, I had Rob O'Halloran on there. It's not released yet. He's a film director, and he does videos as well for bands, and he said he got no funding, can't get funding, you know.
And I think it's again, almost heavy metal and rock is almost a taboo here in Ireland. You don't hear it on the radio or anything.
You're
and,
correct, yeah.
It's, you know, it's terrible. It's a sin.
Yeah.
So
Like, kind of, when you did the Irish Metal Archives with John, were you still living in Ireland at that stage? Or had you?
I was. I think we started that around 2011. We
Right.
started moving everything over. But I did most of the work on it while I was in Malta. But I mean, a lot of this is just, it's archiving stuff. John has all the material.
Yeah.
He's the one who's hoarded this stuff. He's
Yeah.
got like thousands of gig flyers going back to the late 60s.
That's amazing.
It's insane what the amount of stuff he has, and we've only just scratched the surface of it. I'd say we have maybe 15% of the material on the site at the moment.
15% on
Yeah,
it. Jesus.
the amount is insane.
I'm going to get him on the show. He knows that himself.
Great.
If we'll have a good laugh on that. So you had a career change then and got out of Ireland, yeah? How did that story come out, if you don't mind talking about it?
Yeah. So basically, I met a Maltese girl, and I'm not allowed to tell this story. So we moved to Malta anyway. We have twin boys.
Right. When was that?
They're nearly as old as I am in Malta. So that was 2012. I moved over there August 2012. So
Right.
how long was that?
That's like 7 years now.
Yeah, it's a long time. But that was it. So I just moved over to Malta, and
What part?
Malta is about the size of Cork City.
Right.
So the centre.
The centre, yeah.
It's a place called Santa Venera. It's
Okay.
Malta's a cool little place. When I got there first, I was kind of bummed about the lack of metal. There was some stuff there. I mean, there was a Malta Doom Fest,
Right.
which I think even a lot of people here might know of as well. We've had a lot of
Yeah,
Irish
there's a
over
few
there.
Irish bands played. Yeah.
And there was a Malta Death Fest
Right.
at the opposite side of the year, run by, I think, Frank from Beheaded. And that only lasted a year or two. But apart from that, there were a handful of bands that would play maybe every 3 to 4 weeks in just the same bands in a different rotation. And it got for me coming from Cork, where that you could have 3 gigs on in the same night,
Yeah.
at pretty much any night of the week. This is like it was a bit disappointing. So
Yeah.
So I started by bringing Sirocco over for a show there. The one thing about Malta is there was a severe lack of venues.
Yeah.
So in comparison to just like putting a band on in the Cruiscin, in Malta you would have to rent a room or a yard. You would have to bring in a stage. You would have to hire in the sound, the lights, and then you could start looking about bringing in bands. So the
Right.
startup cost would be maybe 1,000 to 1,500 euros just to, you know, have somewhere for them to play.
Yeah.
Over time, we've kind of remedied that. We've moved to, there was a cool venue in the center of the island called Coconut, and they had a room upstairs where we started doing gigs. That closed down, and luckily in the last 2 years, I think we have a new venue there now called the Garage,
Yeah.
which is what we needed. It's got the stage, the sound, the lights, the engineer, and
What can it hold?
it can hold about 300.
300,
So
yeah.
I'm basically back in the Cruiscin, but in
Yes.
Malta.
Yeah. And kind of when you were initially went over there, you were probably trying to suss out what kind of crowds were going to these gigs.
Yeah, I find it's a very split crowd,
Right.
which a lot of people, you know, would say it's the same in Europe. You know, black metal heads don't go to death metal gigs, death metalers don't go to heavy metal gigs, that kind of thing. It's not as severe, but it still happens. Whereas I think in Cork, a lot of the time you get metalers going to metal gigs.
You do. You get a huge mix. Yeah.
This is a lot more segregated, but we're trying to diversify it now. So instead of putting on a black metal lineup, we tried to stack it with a couple of bands, and it's a bit of something for everyone.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, over the last 2 years, I suppose we brought in Malta. We've had Rod in Christ, we've had Moonspell. Last 2 weeks ago, we had Cryptos from India, who are an amazing band. If you ever get the chance to check them out on Spotify,
okay, cool. Shout
well
out
worth
to
it. We had Morning Beloved, we had Gamma Bomb.
them. Suits
many
there
others.
came in as well, didn't they? As well?
We had Suits there, and they went down fantastically. I mean, they're coming back for sure.
Cool.
I think they enjoyed it, but the crowd loved them.
Right.
Okay. I had a feeling people would enjoy the show that Liam puts on.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't think that kind of thing is seen much in Malta like that. I don't even know how to describe it.
It's a show, like.
It is, yeah. And Liam's the man for the job. Liam Hughes.
Yeah. He's on kind of sabbatical at the moment. I think he's touring around the world, so
Yeah.
fair play to him. So that's Metal Insula Promotions. That's
the one. Yeah.
Have I pronounced that correct? Yeah.
Yeah. I think the translation is in Maltese. It could be Metal Brain, and in Latin, I think it's Metal Center or Metal Island.
Right.
So yeah, that's pretty much the meaning.
And as I said, like you're kind of running. Have you got a gig every month now at this stage?
It's getting kind of close to that. We've maybe one every 3 months.
Okay.
The next one we have over there now is Skyforger.
Right.
And after that we have, I think, Ancient from Norway.
Ancients, is it?
Yeah, very old band.
Yeah.
Who I think were on MTV at one stage. They have that famous videos at Lilith's Embrace.
Jesus Christ.
So it's amazing to look back and see the MTV logo at the bottom.
Yeah. And have you diversified since you've gone over there as well? Like, in relation to, we'll say, working with gigs. I know you hire out backline equipment and stuff as well.
Yeah.
That's still your company as well, yeah.
So that's another story. Is when I moved over to Malta, there's not the same camaraderie in the scene. Bands aren't as willing to lend gear or even to rent gear.
Really, yeah.
So you have to go to
that was a bit of an eye opener straight away, yeah.
Yeah. But I mean, I'm the foreigner coming in, so maybe if they didn't know me, they didn't want to lend me some stuff, or didn't want to rent stuff, or didn't want to work on it. So it meant going to the backline companies who charge full whack for a drum kit or for amps and all that.
Right.
And I was getting very fed up with this.
Yeah.
You try to do a deal with them and get do 5 shows at a discounted rate, and they were still no. It's this is the price.
Yeah.
So
was it 1 or 2 shops had a monopoly on that?
Yeah. There's still. There's 2 big backline companies over there. I mean, they have a great selection of stuff, but it's expensive.
Right.
So I mean, if you're looking to hire a backline, just, drums, amps, heads, whatever, for a single show, you'd probably be paying 600-700.
Right. Okay.
And that's that doesn't really work with the size of the crowd that we get for this niche genre. So I was getting a bit fed up with that, so I just went and bought everything, and now
right.
Now I basically rented out to other promoters and any metal shows for a fraction of the price. It's just to cover breakables or cover any damages, but there's not really any profit being made about it. It's the spirit of
correct.
Just camaraderie and trying to build a small little scene. And that if the promoter can continue breaking even and not losing money on backline expenses, then maybe we'll see more shows.
Yeah,
and I usually get to see the gigs for free.
Yeah, well, there's that to it too. Yeah. But it's great to hear. Like, I mean, because it sounds like there wasn't much of a community spirit there initially. It's probably you'd always probably get like 3 or 4 guys, frustrated, and say. Then Jim comes in and kickstarts it. Yeah.
The thing is, after we started doing, we brought in Rod in Christ was the second show we did, an open air show, and we had over 300 people, and that was really good. And I think people started to see that this could work, and they started bringing in some bands themselves. So for a while there were a good few different promoters. There's still a few left from that now that are still in the game.
Yeah.
But a lot of them fizzled out quickly.
Okay. But
I find a lot of people, they bring in smaller bands and try to charge similar ticket prices to something like Rod in Christ, and it doesn't work.
Yeah.
You have to, if you want to if you want to do it, you have to go all in, and you have to invest the money and bring the big names.
Yeah. And like kind of for Irish bands now wanting to get out to Malta.
Yeah, drop me a message.
Drop me a message, yeah.
Yeah, I'm your guy.
Yeah.
So you've got a Sun holiday. There are direct flights from Cork, Dublin, and Belfast now to Malta.
Yeah, I noticed that there's flights now from Cork out there,
so,
which is
man,
great.
that's a godsend, because before that I was flying Malta to Dublin. It was about 4 and a bit hours, and then you'd have to rent a car 3 hours to get back to County Waterford.
Yeah.
Now flight from Malta to Cork, I'm at from the airport to my door in less than an hour.
That's class.
That means I can come back more often and bother everyone.
And what, like, you worked a lot of festivals then as well over there?
Yeah. So because of the backline stuff, we're doing one, providing backline, but we're also doing tech work and stage management and all this stuff. So it's a great way to pick up different aspects of the business, I guess.
Yeah.
And even just to, you get to meet people who are kind of involved in other sides of these things. Like, I do a lot of government festivals over there.
Okay.
Which is very, very interesting to see, because the government does put out a budget there for big metal shows. They had Dream Theater there a couple of weeks ago.
Right.
And that they brought the whole production.
Right.
Pretty much all of it was government funded, which was a lot of some bands were a little bit annoyed about that the government would put money in to bring someone like Dream Theater in rather than invest it in the local bands.
Yeah.
So I can see their point.
Yeah.
But for me, I got to,
you got to work it, did you? Yeah.
I didn't even watch Dream Theater, to be honest. But
yeah.
I got to work with this amazing setup. The amount of gear they brought was pretty crazy.
Really? Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, they brought an Arctic truck full of equipment.
Okay, so that was like big scale. Yeah.
Definitely. I think they also chartered a flight for them, if I'm right. So.
Yeah. Like it's interesting to hear that, because I mean, like, again, bad reputation, and DME got in Amon Mart and Behemoth to the King John's Castle,
Yeah, that's huge. I mean, that's a groundbreaker again.
Yeah.
So I heard it went pretty well. So.
Yeah, it's just amazing. Yeah, it really was. Like, and it was like a festival abroad, but it was in Limerick, if you know what I mean.
Yeah,
so all the major heads were there. All
cool.
the bands were there, and it was just a really great celebration of.
I mean, congrats to both of them. I hope it becomes a yearly thing.
We're all hoping that way,
Fingers crossed.
Kind of for the moment, it's really interesting to see which way it's going. Kind of the metal scene, there's so many bands out there. There's so many kind of promoters. It's a real rich feeding ground at the moment,
Yeah, for
and
sure.
I think the likes of you now as well, like representing us over in Malta as well, can.
Well, that's another little thing I'm trying to do, is try to bridge the gap between the islands. So I mean, there's a couple of good bands over in Malta. In fact, there's a couple of great bands over in Malta.
Yeah. Give a shout out to a few of them.
Yeah, for sure. Victims of Creation, who are coming here.
That's right, with Paranoid Beast. Yeah,
they're fantastic. You got to check them out in Cork and Belfast next week.
Yeah.
There's
Hexus and Zatokrev.
Zatokrev,
yeah.
Yeah. So that's next Friday in Belfast, and Saturday
24th of August in Fred's. Yeah,
that's the one. So come down to Fred's, and
will you be back at that stage? Are you hoping to prolong the visit for that?
I'm going to prolong it. Yeah, I'll be there. Yeah, like I said, I'll be signing Sirocco albums in the beer garden.
Hey, exclusive,
and you can have them for free.
Go on. So that's Victims of Creation. Who else should you be shouting out?
I have to give a shout out to Forsaken, and Albert Bell, the godfather of rock and roll over in Malta. Nomad Sun.
Sorry, who are going back to Forsaken there? What kind of style of music are
they? They're doom.
Okay.
Kind of doom death or doom heavy metal.
Right.
But kind of an old band from around 92, 93.
Okay.
Still going. They don't know how to describe them. They're just very good. Check them out. They got a load of albums up on Spotify, as far as I know. Nomad Sun is also the same bass player, Albert Bell, the father of doom. And there's got a shout out to Slit and Beheaded. So Slit, I think, were one of the first bands I saw in Cork around 2002, 2003.
Yeah.
Funny enough, that people that you meet later on in life have been in the same room as you.
Yeah.
15 years earlier, and you would never even know it. So there's Slit, there's Beheaded, a really awesome band. There was recently an article in Malta about who's the most well known or the most popular musician in Malta, and there's a lot of there's a lot of crap there, like mainstream radio friendly shit.
Yeah.
So it turns out the most popular band in Malta is Beheaded with something like 189,000 likes.
That is brilliant.
Yeah.
That is
And
brilliant.
none of the mainstream stuff comes even close.
So that's cool, isn't it?
It is. It came from the desert. Another cool desert rock band. I think Fallen Icon. Really cool deathcore band along the lines of Dead Label.
Right. Okay.
And many more. Decline the Fall. Kind of hard. Well, kind of emotional or emo, however you say it, but a really solid, good band with lots of great guitar stuff. So.
It's really cool because like a lot of the bands that played Malta, you've actually been in Cork with them. You know what I mean? Like just like Destruction, Exodus, Decapitated.
Yeah. Oh, we haven't had Destruction,
Warbringer,
but Warbringer. Yeah.
They played Cork, didn't they?
They did. That was probably the last big one. Was it Warbringer and Elm Street? So there was that one. I think. There was only one more gig after that at the Cruiscin, and that was Putrefy.
Right.
And on the last night in the Cruiscin, I had this white desk for the cash box all through the years I was there. On the last night in the Cruiscin, the desk fell apart from woodworm, and it was just symbolic. So
that's fantastic, man.
So that was a Friday night, I think, and I got a call on Monday from Kieran saying. Jim, if you want your stuff, come get it now. So when I collected my gear, and that was it. By that time, they had already finished the bar, and so the PA system was gone. The stage was half torn down over 2 days.
Jesus Christ! So, but the sign is still up there, you know.
Yeah, but it's miserable now walking past it and seeing nothing done with the place.
I know. So. Yeah, and it's probably there is probably at least you can get out in it and stuff, you know.
There's a lot of crazy politics going on with the place.
Yeah.
Apparently, the owner is not in Ireland anymore, and can't be traced after the Nama stuff.
Yeah. Say nothing.
Yeah.
And so, what about Crystal Mountain? Then web design, is that your baby or?
Yeah, so it's just my day job.
Okay.
Just web development and web store stuff. So shout out to Invictus, Invictus Productions,
Dara,
Scobes and Sentinel. And then I have I work with some other cool little labels like Mesako and Oyo, An Eye for an Eye in the UK, Territory Possessions in Norway, Temple of Mystery in Canada, who just recently reissued the Pagan Altar releases.
Okay.
So lots of cool little clients. I've got everything I do seems to be somehow metal related.
Yeah, and you're making a career out of it. You know,
if I can work with people I like and do something I love, then that's cool.
So like you're approachable again for bands and maybe
if anybody
do any work.
If anybody wants a website or a web store or an archive, come chat. Yeah. So it's always on the cheap for something I enjoy.
Yeah, and as well as you look after our own lads anyway.
Oh yeah, sure, I have for years. Morning Beloved as well, Old Season.
Old Season, jeez, there's a name I haven't heard in years. Definitely.
Yeah, they're on my list as well. They'll be coming to Malta next year, I think.
Yeah.
But as I was saying, we're kind of trying to build a bridge so that we can get some more Irish bands over to Malta.
Yeah.
Because I mean, we both have that island mentality.
Yeah.
It's just like Ireland, but it's like Ireland in the 70s, and it's really hot.
Yeah. Is the beer cheap?
The beer is cheap. Smokes are cheap.
Cool. So half the battle.
Yeah, it's a good place for a holiday. And there's a really cool scene there. Lots of cool heads.
So kind of if for example now a band was able to contact you, just kind of say for a gig in maybe 6 months' time, like how much notice would you need kind of?
You'd usually want about 6 months,
if
not more. I mean, some of the gigs I book in there could be nearly a year in advance,
right?
Especially for the bigger ones.
Yeah.
The calendar does fill up quickly, but then again, then Malta is a very festive place as well. Like in the summer, especially August, it basically shuts down because one, it's too hot to do a show inside,
Right.
even with the air conditioning on. It's just, you know, the air is too thick.
Yeah.
And then, you know, people going abroad for festivals and stuff, it's not worth it to put on shows in the summer.
Yeah.
But then September, October, November could fill up quite quickly.
Okay.
And then the other side of the year as well. You know, they're kind of, I suppose when most bands are touring Europe and stuff around that time for club shows, so they'll fill up fairly fast.
Yeah. That's great, man. It's a fantastic thing you're doing, man. Respect.
Yeah, but it's amazing I couldn't just leave Ireland and, you know, let it die.
No.
Itchy fingers, and I had to, you know.
And as I said, like you obviously had a good critical look at what was needed in Malta, and just
not really. I never seem to think things through fully. I do things in stages and then figure out how that's going to lead to the next thing.
Right. Okay.
Which usually works, not always, but yeah, it's one thing at a time. Same thing as the backline stuff. I didn't go out and buy a backline. I had Moonspell who wanted a specific drum kit, and we didn't have it on the island. So I said, okay, I gotta buy it. So, but then from there,
yeah,
you know, you can rent it out cheap to other bands if they need it, and then from there you buy the next couple of things. I had some Marshall shit here that I shipped over from Ireland. Just eventually kind of built a backline, picked up cheap shit, and you know, it saves bands at the end of the night having to drag their stuff home.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's, you know, nobody likes a loadout.
Yeah.
So I'll do that for you.
Yeah, cool. So that's it, Jim. An absolute pleasure, and thanks a million for coming in and chatting to us. It's fascinating to hear how you made your career in a different country and still remained true to your soul, which is
like I said, it's all accidental, just like putting pieces together as I go along.
Yeah.
So, but maybe in a couple of years I look back and see how the puzzle came together, and it might all have been worth it.
I think so. It's a fascinating story, and be sure to check out your work as well with Irish Metal Archives.
Cool.
And check the man out for the newly named Sirocco. He'll sign some free CDs.
I'm not joking. I'm going to bring
at the Paranoid Beast promotions.
Exactly.
Gig.
I'm going to bring copies of all 3 Sirocco albums, and, you know,
cool.
Just take them because they're taking up space at my house. I need to get rid of them.
Yeah. So just a quick plug then, really. So it's Victims of Creation, Jim's band. They're supporting Hexus and Zato Krev in Fred Zeppelin's on the 24th of August. That's with the Paranoid Beast promotions. And the following night, shout out to Dave Walsh and Bleak Noise promotions, because they're hosting Hexus, Tengil and Horrenda in Drop Dead Twice in Dublin, and that's 10 quid entry. So you have a good choice between both gigs. Go out and support it.
Absolutely. Pleasure.
Okay. Thanks, Jim. Wish you nothing but success in the future, and don't be a stranger.
Try not to. Cheers, Richie.
So be sure to check out the Metal Cell on Facebook and Instagram, and if you're a band and you want to hit me up, you can contact me at themetalcell@gmail.com. And also be sure to check out the new YouTube channel, the Metal Cell 666, and we have all the interviews up on that as well. That's it. So over and out.